Everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm just wondering, and you can use the little hand raise feature for this if you'd like to. How many of you who are in the room attended the FDRC event or you can just raise your hand like this because I can see y'all now. How many of you attended the FDRC event in January? A couple of you, okay. And some of you have watched it since, right? Because I gave you permission to view. Yeah, excellent, thank you. So what we were doing, and I've got a little bit of a hemba going on here today, so I'll probably mute my microphone in just a little bit and let my colleagues take it. But when we first set up the FDRC event for January, we were just hoping that we had more time for discussion, more time to kind of hear from all of you rather than just you hearing from all of us. So Dr. Brandon Jones, my esteemed colleague, field placement director and assistant professor of counseling, and my esteemed colleague, Dr. Kevin Hinsey, who is our coordinator for our transdisciplinary program and also assistant professor of counseling. Yes, okay. And so we're going to kind of take things where we kind of left off, but we're also hoping to include those of you who were not with us before, because at the center of Heritage Week is our Sisters of St. Joseph, and at the center of that is their mission. And we've embraced that mission as members of the Regis community in a way that's different from any place I've ever worked before. And so it feels good to be part of that, but it also feels like with that comes a responsibility to actually do something with it. So that's what we're here to do today. All right, so I'm going to pass this off to my colleagues. I'm going to mute my microphone and I'm going to cough a couple times.
Welcome, everyone. It's so good to be here. We don't have a ton of didactic things to talk at you, like Dr. Miranda mentioned. The main goal is to try and continue some of the discussions that began back in January. And so it might be helpful, though, just to briefly orient us around Regis's mission, and then maybe to also share our program mission here at GCP to kind of get the juices flowing. And then we can talk a bit about y'all and y'all's programs. So I will share my screen with you. Go here and share. Great. And so first, the Regis mission. Dr. Hinsey, would you be so kind as to read it for us?
Absolutely. Rooted in the Catholic intellectual tradition and inspired by the social justice values of our founders, the Sisters of St. Joseph of Boston, Regis College is a welcoming and inclusive community. We are called to provide access to an academically rigorous education through innovative learning opportunities and collaborative engagement at all degree levels. We educate the whole person, preparing our students to pursue excellence, to become change agents in their own communities, and to serve and lead as advocates for a more just and compassionate global society.
Thank you. And then for us, for our mission here at GCP, great. We have the graduate counseling programs at Regis are grounded in empirical science, compassionate practice, and social justice advocacy. We are committed to the development of counselors who are guided by theory and ethical awareness, informed by the active inclusivity of intersectional feminism, and dedicated to anti-racist practices. Through a community of collaborative engagement and leadership, we seek to inform and transform mental health delivery systems, reduce stigma and barriers to treatment, and serve our communities in ways that model fairness and instill hope. So I'm going to stop sharing for a moment here. Great. And, in January, we spoke quite a bit about, for us, how we thought developing our own mission rooted in Regis's broader mission was an exercise in saying who we are and naming our values and in imagining and saying what we hope to do, what we plan to how we plan on our students to go out into the world, right? And so we try to be really concrete about those things, and we put our minds together in-house. We talked to our advisory board, we workshopped, and that's what we came up with. That was our process. And so for us, I think that it's really tailored in our authentic identity as a program here. And so for this to be meaningful to y'all, I think that it'd be useful to hear a bit about who's in the room and a little bit about the programs that you're a part of, and just to get a sense of where we all are.
Dr. Jones, do you want to call on someone and then they can pick the next person, since it's sort of hard to figure out what order anybody's in?
That is a good idea. Yeah, all right, great. So in order of folks who were not sort of facilitating this panel, next on my Brady Bunch boxes here, I have Becky. Would you be willing to say a bit about the program you're in?
Of course. So I'm Becky DeRoche. I'm here in the psychology department, which is parallel to what you guys are all doing, the on the ground. But I've had the great fortune also of teaching humanities courses, teaching graduate education courses, etc. And so I could go on a long time, but I will leave it to the next people. And so next on my screen, I have Mary Lou Jackson. You want us to call on everybody? And was there something we were supposed to cover?
I think you nailed it. Just about who you are and which programs you come from.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I am Mary Lou Jackson. I am now my title, Vice President of Mission Integration, and thrilled and full of gratitude for this lunch and learn today. I'm also overseeing the Mission Committee, and the Mission Committee has, set up a number of events this week to celebrate our heritage and the Sisters of St. Joseph Boston. We also do Founders Day, and we do a number of other things. So we're a busy committee trying to really do what we can do cross community-wise, institutional-wise, to engage everyone in the institution's mission. I was also, I did oversee the sort of re-articulation of the mission statement, probably now 3 years ago, maybe. And at that time, it just seemed like we needed more inclusive language. We also wanted to be clear about who we are in this moment in time as an institution. We had a lot of feedback from our community, and we took about 6 months or more to really try to pull this together. And we, established what our ideals are and what we want them to be, which is access and inclusive excellence and academic excellence, and paying attention and responding to the common good, all of those kinds of things. So, and obviously educating the whole person. So those were our ideals. And then out of those many conversations came this articulated revised mission statement. And every word matters. So when you read it, Kevin, for me, it just brings me back to those days where we really did work so hard to make sure that we were saying what we really truly wanted to say. So I appreciate the fact that you started with the mission statement, and then, of course, love the fact that that programs are starting to develop their own mission statements that reflect the broader mission statement. I think that's so critical and so key, and I'm just so grateful to Karen in particular for her efforts that she's put forth, and really trying to rally the faculty around the importance of integrating mission, DEI efforts in really all that we do. And it's so important that our students see it as part of our curriculum and program development. So I'm grateful to all of you for the efforts that you're putting forth today, particularly Karen, Kevin, Brandon, for the work that you're doing, but also everybody here on this screen who, who was taking the time to be a part of this important conversation. And I've said way too much, so thank you.
This was an easy group my group was an easy group to rally, by the way. I was like, hey, let's make a mission, let's make it better. And they're like, yeah. So that was easy. And I hope that for all of you, it becomes easy to do that with your departments as well. Mary Lou, pick someone, and I'm going to shut up now.
Okay, I will pick Heather.
All right. My name is Heather Jocelyn Cranston. I teach in the Department of Humanities. I teach courses in music and religious studies. So I think I go on to the next person. That's Kevin.
Hi, everyone. I'm one of the presenters, Kevin Hinsey, and that is fine. I'm happy to get brought into the conversation. I will be sharing in a moment more to add to the conversation. Karen introduced me earlier in the graduate counseling programs. Thrilled to be here with you all today. And I will move forward and ask Megan to introduce herself.
Hi, everybody. I'm Megan Gibbons. I'm in Global Connections, and most of you will be somewhat familiar with education abroad programs through the Center for Global Connections. Education abroad includes traditional study, but also research and internships abroad. So we're talking about semester, summer, short-term, particularly faculty-led programming that I'd be coordinating with others on. And then the other piece that maybe you're less familiar with, but I came to Regis with a lot of experience and really passionate about COIL Virtual Exchange. That's collaborative online international learning. So it's bringing students together in a digital space to work on academic projects for a 4 to 6 week period of a semester. And Heather, I'm looking at you. Heather's had some. She got on that crazy bus with me and did some of this work. So it's for me, it's a way to balance out some of the imbalances in the ed abroad field by also having complementary programming with that is COIL Virtual Exchange. So I'll leave it at that. And Dean Draper.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. I'm the interim dean of School of Arts and Sciences, and I am a associate professor of philosophy and religious studies. And I worked closely with many of you recently. Well, a year ago, Heather and Fitz and I presented a paper as a panel, and mine was on design depression. Last year at this time, Kevin and Becky and I and Jen also were part of a panel on racial justice. And I had also the privilege of working closely with Mary Lou in the mission committee, but also in the designing of the reframing the mission of the college, along with many others in this group. So yeah, wonderful to see everybody here. Thank you. And I will pick Lucia. You're still muted, Lucia.
Possibly.
Hi,
Oh,
I'm
there we
so
go.
sorry. Yeah, sorry that I was actually looking for some information to share about the work that we are doing in the humanities department, where I am a professor of Spanish and Latin American history and Latinx literature and and we in the humanities department are in the process of, well, ever since we became a department, in the process of revising our different fields of study. You may know that the humanities is a major, and then students choose to concentrate in an area of study. For example, Heather leads the, and correct me if I'm wrong, the, is it called expressive? I was looking for the precise information, Heather.
I never remember myself, actually, Lucia. It may be creative and performing arts, but I'm just, honestly, I'd have to check that.
And one of our goals is to, of course, align these fields of study with the mission, the overall mission of the college. Right now, I am working on the race, ethnicity, and migration field of study, and it is a working process. And the goal, or the description, I should say, of that field of study is that students choose to pursue a major in humanities with a field of study on race, ethnicity, and migration studies, or students that choose this field will be intellectually equipped to become socially engaged individuals in an increasingly diverse and complex global society. Students will learn several methods of critical inquiry. This concentration challenges and addresses structural marginalization, inequity in society, and systemic racism. It also represents the CSJ's mission on social justice and service to the dear neighbor without distinction. So it very much aligns not only with the mission of the college, but also with our strategic plan on diversity and inclusion. So anyway, and there is more to come, and please send your students. That's it.
Thank you so much. Feel free to pass on to.
Forgot about that one. Sorry. What about Audrey?
Hi, I'm Audrey Grace in the Center for Inclusive Excellence. And I was part of the tail end of the revision of the mission statement after so much work had been put into it. I'm also on the mission committee. Despite my lack of attendance of late, I apologize for that. I will make it work when my schedule changes. But I'm proud to be here where I'm using a mission statement for the Center for Inclusive Excellence that was passed down to me. So I'm always looking at ways to revise it, particularly as we're looking at our website and our vision and structure of the Center for Inclusive Excellence. And I will pass it to Megan. Did you already go? Okay, Julia.
Hi, everyone. I'm Julia Lasella. I'm a professor of English in the humanities program. And Lucia, thanks for giving your your developing field of study some good airtime. The other field of study, in addition to the English major and the writing minor, I'm also very involved in the medical humanities field of study and teach a couple of courses in that, as does Heather, and I think Fitz, one of your courses is in that. And I think that the medical humanities really does fulfill Regis's mission. And today in my women's lit class, I talked about the Sisters of St. Joseph because we were talking about convent schools and nuns who teach. And I said, well, you know, and I got them all to talk about the Sisters of St. Joseph and the amazing things they did in the early days of educating immigrant children in Boston. So it was fun to be able to work in Heritage Week in my class today. I don't know who hasn't gone yet. Who hasn't?
Go.
Like,
I'll go.
okay, Ababa, I got in late, so I'm
No
sorry.
worries, no worries. My name is Avaba Biam, and I have the absolute privilege of teaching the social work department. And as you know, the core of social work is to be advocates for those who have no voice. So one of the core competencies in social work is to advance human rights and social, economic, and environmental justice. So I just feel like this is it, right? So I'm glad to be here with you all today. Dr. Fitzgerald, I don't think you went.
Oh yeah, I didn't. Thank you, Ababa. Thank you so much. Yeah, so I'm Fitz, and I am an assistant professor in the humanities department as well. Good representation from the humanities department here today. And I teach classes in writing and religious studies primarily. That's me. And let's see, who hasn't gone? Linda has a hand raised. I don't know if that's saying that you haven't gone. Good, Linda, too.
Hi there. My name is Linda Beaver. I'm on the mission committee and helped also with redesigning the mission. I work for the online nursing program at the master's level, specifically with the family nurse practitioner track. And I see Donna Barrett, and I don't think you've gone yet.
I haven't. Thanks, Linda. And I was like, wait, how can I put the only nurse on here? So I'm glad you are. I am an assistant professor in the nursing school, and I teach. I've taught a lot of different things, but I've taught at the doctoral level, and I teach a lot of the online master's nursing students health policy, and then I have taught intro to global health and through the public health group, and it could use some updating with today's DEI principles and goals. But I also, the other hat I wear is as the director of global nursing, and the majority of that, my time with that is spent on a project that we have in Haiti to support the state public nursing schools there. And we got the grant in like January 2020. So we haven't been able to do a whole lot, sadly. We've started, luckily, in the last few months to really move some things forward and hope that we can really get things going over the summer again, as long as we don't have another big bump. But some of the stuff we're doing virtually, but also, unfortunately, some of it we just can't. We need to do it in person. And so we're trying really hard to work with our colleagues there. But really, for those of you, I think probably a lot of you were around, we did have like 36 nurses from Haiti go through the master's program at Regis prior to me joining Regis, although I was at the very beginning of that with Tony and others on the first trip to Haiti when I was at Partners in Health. And then now full circle, I'm sort of back at Regis teaching and also helping lead our work in Haiti. But hopefully we will also work with Megan to develop some good exchange programs for the nursing school as well, but that's also just been a little bit on hold because of COVID. So we need to work on that. So thanks.
Thanks so much, y'all, for sharing a bit about who you are, the programs you come from, but also really importantly, the work that y'all have been doing and have been committed to. You know, we have a real wealth here of experiences that I'm excited for us to collectively tap into together, which I think is a segue over to you, Dr. Hensey. Would it be helpful if I put up the slide? Do you need it?
I don't think I need it.
Okay.
And for those of you, there were several of you who attended the first part of this training. in the spring faculty orientation. And those materials are still available on the SharePoint, and we can, it was, I think, included as part of the publicity, and maybe we can even include the link again in the chat box here. But what we talked about in January was really the process of developing a mission and what is sort of anchored, how to sort of anchor that process of mission development. And we're not going to go over all of that again today because it's been discussed. But I think, Lucia, you were maybe channeling some of our intentions when you sprung ahead. I was very grateful for it, actually, and shared a bit about the mission of your developing concentration or area of focus. And it really leads to a question that we have for this group, which is about where our respective missions are. And I'm being specific about the mission of the program or the concentration that you're involved with, right? We've got an institutional Regis College mission. And as Mary Lou noted in her introductory comments, the real opportunity here is for departments and concentrations to do that work of articulating what they're all about. And so I'm wondering if anyone else has done some of that work, if you are willing to share a bit about where the status of your mission is. And maybe at the risk of asking too many stacked questions, which is a huge no-no for counselors and social workers, I'm sure, is how your mission, you talk about where your mission is, but in what ways, if at all, does your mission connect with social justice or diversity, equity, and inclusion, that sort of piece? So I'm wondering if there's anyone else who is willing to share a bit about what is the status of your mission? Yeah, Julia, please.
I have two computers open at the same time and I was clicking the wrong. Anyway, I guess I would say I was trying to find the English department mission, but a few years ago we were charged with sort of updating our major, and part of what we saw as our mission among the English professors was to make a major that was more accessible to and attractive to students that were coming into Regis with an eye probably toward careers, jobs, or teaching, right? And so we really spent a lot of time thinking about how our courses could really reach students and whether or not whether students could see a way to use the stuff that they were learning in the real world. So we really reshaped our whole major a few years ago. And it also, we also, which not all departments followed, but we had talked about doing this in other departments and other majors. We made fewer required courses with the eye toward students being able to double major in things they could tell their parents were more practical, So for us, that was part of our social justice mission. So of course we did the obvious things of looking at our syllabi and making sure that we really had more global reach in the courses, in the literature that we were teaching, and that we had cross connections between cultures and between different parties and subject positions. But really on the more practical level, it was about how could students major in English and also learn other things, but have that grounding. So for us, it really was kind of a social justice change. I was trying to find our mission, but I wasn't fast enough on the website. But I think even in the way that we worded the mission, it has a much more egalitarian sound than a lot of traditional English departments sound. Because we thought that there was that kind of level too of sort of locking people out a little bit of a tradition and a discipline that has tended over time to be a pretty upper middle class white discipline. Like if you look at the people who pursue English in graduate school, it's changing, thankfully, but I think it's changing because people at the undergraduate level are seeing that we need to welcome people at an earlier stage in the profession.
Thank you so much, Julie. And I'll note if you or another one of your humanities colleagues finds the English department mission, you can feel free to paste it in the chat box or a link to it in the chat box. But thank you for offering your experience. I'm curious about others. What is the status of your departmental or concentrations mission?
And even if you don't have that going yet, just to kind of tag on to that, if you attended the workshop in January, or even if you didn't and you watched the video today, what are some things that you can maybe tie to that, or ideas that you have that you'd like to bring forward regarding that? Like, you don't have to have it all done in order to participate in the discussion.
I'm going to ask a question if that's possible. I don't know if other members of the humanities department, do you know if we have a humanities department mission? And if so, where is that found?
Heather, I don't know about the humanities department and who files the PARs at the end of the year, but that's where I stumbled across our old mission. And what it wound up being was a description of our program that was on our website. It had nothing to do with our purpose. It was just like, we train counselors. And so there's a little section on the PARs, it's about this big, and that's where I found mine. So whoever is the person responsible for the PARs may have some little blurb that just gets carried forward every year. And that might be someone to ask. I don't know who does that for your department.
It is Jason Clemens in the humanities, is our chair. And thank you, Fitz, for copying the description that appears on the webpage, which actually it's related to what you're saying, Karen, because I remember when I was chair a few years ago, and when we were asked to provide information, it was mainly so that, and it also ties to Julia's comment, it was mainly so that students that read the page know that they can do something with this degree. So that's what this description leads to. So this is sort of a caption of what the program is, and then you can do this and this and that. In terms of the mission, which someone may be looking for it right now, I don't want to go into my files with the with the long PARs. I don't even know where it is anymore, but anyway, it's somewhere. I can look to see if I find it. But that's more than the mission was. How do you describe this program so that students can go into what am I going to do with this program, period? Am I going to be able to teach, to get a job, basically? So, so that's perhaps where we seriously need to revamp the description and maybe to summarize our mission. It has to be a very brief, I don't know how many lines, because students, as we know, or someone that is browsing for information, they're not going to read beyond the 4 lines that they are looking for, which is, it's not the mission, but it's more, what am I going to do with this degree?
Lucia, I just want to interject here a little bit because we've had some lived experience on how that played out for us, right? And when we did the workshop in January, I put a link in the chat to all the documents. There's some handouts there, and we kind of took people through like what some steps might be and how you might break down the parts of the mission, you know, sort of like, you know, who are we, what are we doing, what do we want out of this kind of thing. And Mary Lou, I know you say that whole part better than I do. But what we found was once we had that mission and we articulated the mission, and what we went from was, this is, we're going to make you a counselor, to we're going to make you a culturally competent counselor whose values are rooted in intersectional feminism and anti-racism. And you're going to be a person who is going to be a change agent in the agencies you're in. And it's about you making sure that there's fairness and hope within these systems. When we made that change and we made that mission public, we started attracting different students.
Yeah. Interesting.
And if I might add, sort of piggybacking both off of what you just said, Dr. Miranda, and also
Dr. Jones, we can't hear you. Looks like you're talking, but.
We can hear him. I can hear him.
Okay.
Oh, there you are.
Okay, great. Hello. Just piggybacking a bit about what you just said, Dr. M, and also what you wrote in the chat, Dr. Henze, is I can attest to seeing that we attracted students for whom the mission spoke, certainly. I'd also add that in terms of operationalizing the process and making sure that we had potential students, applicants, who really seem to be motivated to embrace our mission, to our mission really drive with them. We found we included an essay in the admissions process where students reflect on our specific program mission, right? And so we're a program, and so we have an application process that includes you know, a personal statement and an essay, right? That won't be the same for each of your, you know, specializations or concentrations or majors, but you might think about how you might incentivize people who are interested into actively engaging, because I do think there is something with the invitation to talk about this specifically that seems to have mattered. So much so that I've been surprised hearing students talk spontaneously to other students and even sort of reporting back on their experiences when they go out to do interviews for field placement, that they really feel connected to and anchored and grounded by our mission and actively look to sort of wave that flag and also check and see if the places that they're interviewing with sort of are congruent with our values. That's some of what I've noticed for us.
We have a half-hour segment in our next School of Arts and Science meeting, which is this Thursday, and I'm going to fill that with continuing the conversation on the SAS mission, but also on the various departments, education, cybersecurity, cybersecurity, STEM, and humanities. And to begin this, when I started as interim dean, this was on a list. It hasn't, unfortunately, I've not prioritized it, but this is a good opportunity to begin to do that. And it's one of the reasons why I'm here today. To Lucia's point, though, the big challenge with humanities in STEM, which is traditionally the liberal arts, is and Julia also alluded to this, I believe, is it is becoming the province of Ivy League schools, and the constituency that we appeal to the most really tend towards the pre-professional degrees. They do want, as Lucia said, they want the degree to have the same name as the job they'll have at the end. And humanities is not on that list. Neither is it's not the same in of course STEM, biomedical engineering, but that's the thing we have to overcome. We've sought, is it 4 Teagle grants, and Teagle is a foundation that exists for colleges like Regis to attract funds to reach a constituency that would not otherwise choose the liberal arts, right? They would choose nursing or education and the like. And we have 4 times failed to attract those funds, but we're not stopping, right? We're continuing to do that. But what I'm hearing you say, Karen and Kevin, is our poor articulation of our mission. SAS's mission is it's descriptive, like the humanities. That's a good place to start. It's a good place to start for us to rethink what does a mission-driven liberal arts mean. So I'm very glad to be part of this conversation, and thank you to Brandon for articulating that as well.
I just want to add too, I don't know if you all have seen the latest edition of the alumni magazine, Regis Alumni Magazine. If you have not, I would suggest you get a copy. I think we have some copies right outside my office in the president's outer office here, but it's really quite remarkable in terms of the impact that Regis education has had on so many of our graduates. And I would say this edition in particular really highlights the focus on mission in so many different ways across many different areas of study. And so it might be worth just looking at that and kind of taking that in a little bit, because I was really grateful to the alumni office for putting together this edition in a way that they did, because as I said, I feel like this edition should be out for every prospective student coming to Regis, because the outcome is such that we are producing incredible individuals who go out and do an unbelievable work in many different areas of sectors of careers. And I think we're missing the opportunity to really, as an institution, I think we're missing that opportunity in our marketing. We've got to figure that out, because I think it's all there. We just haven't figured out a way to capture it and share it to the rest of the world. But this alumni magazine does a pretty good job of doing that.
I agree, Mary Lou. So stories are really terrific. I've been Googling for the School of Nursing mission statement, which I know exists, but I cannot find it. I don't know if Linda or Sherry maybe have it somewhere more handy. I think it's been revised relatively recently. I don't know if anybody else here with better institutional memory than me knows that. I think it was probably revised shortly before I started at Regis, but I was thinking that when I was applying to the DNP program, that I had to speak to the mission and how I would, getting my graduate education or my doctoral education would sort of be related to missions. But I just went back and found my essay and it doesn't have anything about that. So I guess I'm misremembering that totally. But I also know, as a personal confession, that when we had to fill out our surveys about how like our departments are working over the last couple weeks, there definitely was a question about the Regis School of Nursing mission statement and whether or not our school reflects it. And I don't think the mission statement though was in that. It could have been, but now I can't go back to it because I already filled out the survey. But anyway, I do, and like I keep saying, those with a little bit more institutional memory than I do, and history with the nursing school as well as I would say Regis, I do think it's worthwhile to revisit our mission statement and make sure that it really does reflect what it is we hope we're doing. And also I think with the eye towards what Karen and the rest of your counseling team have mentioned about it, that it helped recruit students who we were maybe not getting at, because in nursing there's just a huge problem right now with attracting sort of all populations, and even though we do a pretty good job at Regis, we could certainly be doing much better than we are. So revising the mission statement may be an important part of that.
Just make a quick comment here. It's unsurprising to me that several folks who have shared today have mentioned missions that they weren't able to find, that may have been buried in some type of administrative paperwork, and or are not publicly viewable. And I see this as a huge opportunity, right? It's a huge opportunity. What it means to be mission driven, just generally speaking. We're not here to, Dr. M, Dr. Jones and I are not here to try to convince anyone to have a mission just like ours, because I think has already been noted, what's beautiful about Regis in any institution of higher education is there's just this beautiful sort of combination and synthesis of degree programs and fields of study. And that's what makes academia such a wonderful and vibrant place. But I think across areas of study, having a mission is important. And so how to articulate it, and then if it's articulated, how to publicize it. When I posted in our chat the website for our graduate counseling programs, and you'll notice, and Dr. M's is the reason why this happened. She worked, I think, a lot with our former web designer at the college to make sure that the mission was situated right at the top of the page, right beneath like a graphic. And getting it out there in this way, it's included in all of our syllabi, every single one of them. And assignments are connected to it as well. And so I think part of the draw that we're talking about is that we're finding ways to sort of embody the mission and synthesize the mission into the process of like praxis and what it actually looks like in the real world. And my sense is that all of us in this space have a similar opportunity. And it sounds like some of us have already been doing that. My last statement is, we just need to find ways of getting the mission, in some ways, getting the mission articulated and publicized. If we're having no trouble finding it, I'm sure the students don't even know it exists.
I just would love to put a plug out because we have about 7 or 8 testimonials from grad and online students. There's a link under the Heritage website that we pulled together. And I'm telling you, if you want some food for thought or want some language around, how to present a mission statement, listen to these students share their own personal journeys around the Regis experience and how the mission and values of the institution have really impacted not only their personal journeys, but the professional journeys. So those are actually up on the, as I said, on the Heritage Week page, webpage, and a link at the bottom of the page will get you to those testimonials. Might take you 15 to 20 minutes to get through all of them, but I'll tell you, you'll have goosebumps listening to these students share their stories. But that's, I think, Kevin, in response to what you just said, it's there, right? We've got to capture it, articulate it, put it in writing, have it available, and also more publicly let people know about it.
I just posted up the link to the Heritage Week, all the Heritage Week information, so you could get to it more quickly, or bookmark it if you would like to. I know one of our students, Giovanni Guzman, did a really lovely video for Heritage Week. Also, if you go back and you watch our workshop from January, several of our students talked about the mission. And what it meant for them and how it's kind of showing up for them, how they're seeing it in their, getting ready for field work and such. And just this week, Thursday, we're meeting with, we're having a networking event with some of our alumni, and many of them, when they've gone out to interview for jobs, they're asking them questions about, what's your commitment to social justice? And they can answer those questions so articulately because they've lived it for the whole 2 years in our program, in their assignments and their conversations and everything they've done. So, they're showing up in the community in different ways because they're comfortable with this language, and they know what those answers are for them too.
And I think you can see a real difference between sort of inherited missions that you try to make work for your program versus embodied missions. And so for me, it was actually inheriting some information from Barbara Dowds on Martin Luther King's work on education that I recognized the character traits, how that intersects so beautifully with the Regis mission. And so I think the more places we can help students have opportunity to reflect on it, it helps it become their mission as opposed to, oh, I'm at Regis and they have this mission. And so I really liked, I wasn't part of your initial workshop, but I watched it today. So I really liked how integral it felt. And that's the thing about how, as we're creating these, I think that's the thing to be forefront about, of owning it as faculty, as students, as the whole college. So that's kind of exciting. So it also makes it easier that ours is more in its infancy stage, because then there's more room to grow, there's more adaptability, and then you don't necessarily have to apologize for where you are in your process.
Thanks, Becky. Dr. Jones, did you want to take us home with anything here?
Take us home. Well, we've got roughly 3 minutes left here. I think y'all have taken us home yourselves. I think no matter where you are in the process, you're somewhere in the process, right? And so all there is opportunity from here. It's invigorating to be with y'all and to feel the energy that you have toward trying to find a way to have what you stand for and your programs come to life, and how they meld with our Regis mission. And something that has been sort of mulling. I've been mulling over, that's sort of been stirring, is this sort of issue of, for a lot of, let's say, humanities, prospective humanities students, need to know that they're going to be a skilled worker, right? At the end of the process, that's essential. And I think, gosh, what an opportunity to have a mission that says, not only are you going to have the skills to do work, you are going to be able to do work that changes the world, right? In really specific ways. That is super attractive. And I look forward to following along and seeing how y'all bring that to life. This feels like an exciting time and place to be. So that's all I have here. We've got a couple of minutes left. I'm not sure if that's enough time really to field questions in depth, but if you want to bookmark them, name them, I can also maybe share our email addresses too with folks, for sure.
Just wanted to add, Brandon, that what you just said, and it is there in the humanities somewhere. That's the problem, that it is there. And we, as we've been redesigning, reviewing the goals of the program and so on, that is somewhere there. It needs to be visible and attractive to the student, to the high school student that looks into the website and the humanities department website, because it is a high school student versus student that has already finished a bachelor's or 4-year degree and is looking into a graduate program. So that is another challenge that we face. How do we then attract that student that is so young, and especially now with so much, right? And so it needs to be, I hate to say, branded in a way that, yes, and I'm so glad I've looked forward to reading those statements that Mary Lou was referring to, because we definitely can be inspired and use some of that to renew our website. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. We are a minute over.
Thank you to our facilitators for showing up and for leading the way. And also, I know that you have offered to help others who are developing their mission statements. And I know that I think all of us on the screen can help each other as well. So thank you so much for all that you do and that you give back to Regis and our mission.
Audrey, thank you for creating the space for us to continue the conversation.
Yeah,
of course.
Very important.
So next month, we'll talk about some perspectives on hiring from people who